Good evening, everyone. Newcastle United finally looks like we have a new manager in Eddie Howe, which is pretty good. I'm happy with that. We'll get into that in a minute. I'm joined again, second Thursday in a row, actually, by Andrew, my brother, or Andy, as everyone else calls him.
Good evening.
And my dad, Gordon. So we just thought we'd. I mean, we'd had this planned anyway, but the timing of the news coming out has been pretty nice.
Perfection, Ian.
It's worked quite well. So
couldn't be better.
It's worked. Yeah, it's done all right. So so obviously we'd love to know what everyone's thoughts on the news are that Eddie Howe is going to be the new manager of Newcastle United. And are you happy? Are you disappointed? Let me know what you think. But let's see who's here. So we've got Jan, who, you alerted me to that about half an hour, 20 minutes ago, whenever when it came through. Paul's here as well. Patrick, good evening. Patrick says he's happy with that. Already worked with Wilson and Fraser at Bournemouth too. We'll get into that a bit later because the Fraser relationship's interesting. But we'll get on. We'll come on to that. We've got Trulls and Blakey as well. And let's start with what he says, actually. So Eddie's a very good manager. He's a great appointment for what we need right now. The bigger names will follow in time, I'm sure, but we're in huge trouble and he has experience of the league. So what do you two make of Eddie Howe as the Newcastle manager?
Well, I agree with what that lad just said, Blake. He's just said, I think he's ideal for what we need now. And I think the idea of having Unai Emery was obviously very exciting and I would have welcomed him with open arms. But realistically, to drag a manager away from a Champions League club in the middle of the season in the position we are in was highly unlikely, wasn't it, really, if we're honest?
Yeah.
So, no, I think how could he have been appointed earlier? I guess the answer is probably yes, but the club went down this route. Yeah. I've seen the club getting a lot of criticism, actually, the new owners, about it's taken them this long, but it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. They tried to get a name that they thought would suit what we needed, and then it failed. And let's face it, lots of clubs are in this situation where they go for one manager and they've done. I mean, let's take Tottenham, for example. I mean, how many managers did they go for in the summer? I mean, and then they ended up with the guy who they just sacked doing that. And I feel sorry for him, really.
He's like seventh choice or something, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, this happens in football all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not. It's really not a bit. I don't think it's a big deal that he's not first choice. Clearly, Eddie Howe's not stupid either. Like he, if you're going to try and attempt to get someone like Emery, then I think Eddie Howe would accept that. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he's got the job. Lots of people end up in jobs if they're set, not just in football, in any walk of life, when they're not first choice and they're second, third. It doesn't matter. He's got the job, and we can move on. So, Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a good. But I think Dad's ready for a fight tonight, by the sounds of it. It's a week's worth of tension in the Dad. Let it all out. My dad is quite famous for having rants at football matches, which is quite legendary.
I'm usually right, though. You must admit.
It just makes me laugh, I think.
Maybe.
I think I said, like clearly, this is not like we've lost Emery. He was never the manager.
Yeah, it's a really good point, that.
It's happened, and it was in the press, and it's a nightmare.
It's unfortunate that it was in the press. I think that's the problem with it.
It doesn't mean the owners are incompetent. It doesn't mean that they've got it wrong. It is a little embarrassing, perhaps. Stuff gets leaked. Maybe there was a bit too much pressure on him, or whatever. I don't know. But either way, it doesn't matter. I would have said from the first point, I would have taken Eddie Howe 2 weeks ago. Absolutely, because. It got me thinking back to when Keegan came. When Keegan came to take over the club, he never managed anyone before.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember I was at primary school, and I remember we had a Geordie teacher, if you remember, at our primary school, and
Mr. Brown
didn't like him very much at all. However, and he was like, and I remember him saying, "Oh, it won't work. It's a flashy appointment. It's not a good thing." And I was like, I was probably, how old was I? 10, 11, something like that. And I was like, well, I don't know. And clearly he was wrong. Keegan had zero experience as a manager when he came in. He was in his 40s. Howe's got way more experience than Keegan did. And he's taken a club from the 3rd tier to the top flight with a ground no bigger than Scunthorpe's ground, is it, or something daft like that? 12,000 people. And he's sustained them in the Premier League for 5 years. I just think that's actually quite remarkable. Now, whether that's the skills you want to take us on to being a Champions League club or whatever, but we're not there. We are, and as the last few weeks have shown, we are miles away from there. We're more likely to be a Championship club than a Champions League club, and so I think it's a good appointment.
Yeah. I think the whole the whole thing with Emery is it's overshadowed it obviously clearly. But I think, like you've just said there, Andrew, at the start of when you started talking, basically, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, everyone would have been over the moon, or most people would have been over the moon with Eddie Howe. I would have been. I know there's people who, I know there's people out there who say, "Oh, he got Bournemouth relegated," but that's just such a. It drives me mad when people do that, because most managers leave a football club because things have ended badly. That's that's normally why not many managers leave a football club like Alex Ferguson on a blaze of glory and get to choose the moment they walk away.
Yeah.
Most managers leave because something's gone wrong. But you can't ignore the fact that Eddie Howe for Bournemouth had a pretty amazing run. Like, Bournemouth were literally about to go out of business. They were at the bottom of League Two. He took that team from League Two to the Premier League and kept them there for 5 years.
I think that's the last bit. That's the important bit there, Ian, isn't it? It's like he kept them there for 5 years. It wasn't just a one-season wonder that they went into the Premier League and then got relegated.
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. I think it's very short-sighted of people, but that's the nature of what people's thought process, isn't it? It's just doesn't look at the overall picture and the facts of the case.
Which one of those? It's a stupid argument in some ways. Yeah, okay, it did happen, but then there's like when people sort of say to you, "Oh, your Shearer got you relegated." Like, well, no, he didn't.
No, yeah.
Like Mike Ashley putting Joe Kinnear in charge was probably a big part of that. Rafa didn't get us relegated either. Steve McLaren did.
To be fair, it's mainly Mackems who say that, isn't it?
Well, yes.
Your legend took you down. Well, he didn't.
Bless our wearside brethren. Yes. But yeah, totally. And it's just like it's a stupid argument. It's kind of like, okay, he didn't manage to turn things round, but that's not the story.
Yeah. I'll just put that graphic back up just with his record. I actually didn't realise that he went to Burnley for a season.
Yes, he did.
A while. I hadn't realised that he'd had a broken spell at Bournemouth. I thought he
got homesick, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, when I looked earlier, it said he left for personal reasons.
Yeah, so, he got homesick.
I mean, hopefully he won't get homesick in the northeast.
No, we'll give it.
Which is definitely further away from where he lives.
Exactly. Maybe the Saudi owners will have a decent private jet he can make use of or something. So
there's a good link from there to Newcastle Airport, isn't there? I think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, people were on Twitter tracking flights again today, but just looking at his record, I mean, when you've managed that many games, a win percentage 40% in the second spell, 50% in his first spell at Bournemouth. That's good. Basically, I worked out if he has a 40% win rate for us, that means we'll win 11 matches between now and the end of the season. That's 33 points plus the 4 we've got. We'll be all right, So I don't know. I'm happy with it. I there's lots of names being mentioned. I'd have been happy with most of them. So if I'm perfectly honest with you, you can make an. I know Aaron's here. Evening, Aaron. I noticed that Aaron on Twitter. He was saying earlier, like, I'm just convincing myself of every single one of these managers that we're linked with, and I get it. It's because we've not had that excitement for 15 years. Basically, we've not had that opportunity really to be excited, apart from when Rafa came in, and obviously Keegan originally came in under Ashley, and we were all excited then. But apart from that, it's been very disappointing, the managerial thing. We've, like you've just said, we had Joe Kinnear twice. It's just just been awful for so long, and just to have excitement about a new man coming in who you know is not an Ashley stooge, who can actually come in with his own ideas and hopefully do a good job for us.
Can I just say one thing? One of the comments I read this week, and this is what's been boiling us this week, is the reaction of some of our support base. Like somebody said, look at Tottenham. They've got they sack one manager one day and they get somebody else in next. Well, yeah, they did. It's true. But they talked to that manager in the summer and he turned them down. And and then they had this spell where they looked at all these other guys and they ended up with the one they did. But then he wasn't managing a club when they went back to him. And he's obviously thought, yeah, this is the time to come. So it's a totally different situation. Plus, they're 8th in the league with 15 points. They're not that far away from the top 4. It's it's just totally chalk and cheese, and
he won't have
it's
to
very
do
different.
He won't have to do much to be called a genius.
Situation.
It's just ridiculous. So the way some of our supporters think, I just find it really.
But I think you get that with every fan base. In fairness, it's just it's sometimes. I mean, the Twitter's got edgier and edgier, hasn't it? And obviously the whole it didn't take long. It's taken like 3 weeks.
The new owners were terrible. They were shambolic. I mean, that's what somebody said. They've been taking over 4 weeks. They should have had a plan.
Yeah, I saw that. That's one person, though. I mean, we've got a view from the lookout here. Evening. Thanks for joining the stream. Bournemouth fan. Thinks Eddie Howe would have a good chance of stabilising you and plays great attacking football. And for me, the second part of that is music to my ears after having, 2 and a bit years of Steve Bruce. But also, let's be honest, Rafa Benitez's football wasn't the most thrilling at times. A lot of the time, it was quite defensive stuff. So, it would be nice to see some attacking football again at St James's Park. But it's nice to hear that Bournemouth fans have obviously still have a high opinion of him.
I mean, you would, wouldn't you? I mean, like 3 promotions.
Yeah, I mean, he literally took them from when he took over from Bournemouth. I believe, like they were literally about to go bankrupt, and then had a big points deduction, and they were in administration and all that kind of stuff. It was an absolute mess. And then he kept them up, and then got them promoted, and then a couple of seasons later promoted again, and 3 promotions. I can remember actually in that first season in the Premier League when they were talking to Bournemouth fans, they were saying, "We cannot believe we're here." We're with, as Andrew said, with the ground that is tiny, and yet they were there in the Premier League, and not only did they stay in the Premier League that season, they stayed, as you say, for 5 years. I mean, that's quite incredible, really.
I think I played games of football in bigger stadiums than Bournemouth's. Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
I remember in the 80s, I think it was, Man United going and playing an FA Cup tie at Bournemouth, and it was big news because Bournemouth beat Manchester United in this cup tie at the ground, whatever it was called back in the Dean Court, isn't it? That's the actual ground where
the Vitality Stadium is
Vitality Stadium now. And it was just a 4th division ground, and here they were hosting Manchester United, and yet really. Yeah. All those years later, the ground wasn't that much. Obviously, it's been updated and it's all cedar, etc. But it was just. I think an achievement of keeping them in that league for so long is worthy, really, of praise.
And also, I think just on that point there, I think people sort of forget that there was a time when Howe was linked with the England job. Strongly linked with it when Southgate took over. Yeah. And you don't get that if you've not done something right. And I think. You've got to look at his record overall and be confident that it is a good record. So we'll see. Anyway, not everyone's happy. There's got a few people around, but I think from what I can tell, the vast majority of people are very happy.
I think he'll get his first home game against Brentford. I think he'll get a huge welcome and reception from the.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. He's the first manager, that has been appointed by someone other than Mike Ashley. In 15 years or longer, So he should have the backing of everyone. We are. I
think the last one that was appointed outside of Ashley was Allardyce, wasn't it? Because wasn't Allardyce there when Ashley took over?
Because Allardyce was in charge, wasn't he? And then obviously got moved on for Keegan to come in, and then obviously that all went wrong, as we know, because of.
And let's face it, we actually gave Allardyce quite a warm welcome when he arrived, didn't we? Because we're open-minded. We wanted him to succeed, despite what he said afterwards.
I think, despite what the media sometimes and other fans think about us as a set of supporters, whenever a new manager comes in, we do give them a chance. Like even Graham Souness, who wasn't really, no one really wanted him, but he was actually afforded the chance. It's just that he played really crap football and wasn't a good manager. You know, that's what went wrong, and that's what went wrong for Steve Bruce. It wasn't anything personal. It was just that he wasn't a good manager. And
also the key bit in that is that he didn't win enough games. We were playing crap football and not winning matches.
Yeah.
If you're winning games and you've got your points tallies up, people will sort of accept that. But actually, the problem was we were playing rubbish and losing.
Yeah. I mean, just going back to Souness, I remember someone tweeted earlier this week about the Chelsea match. I can't remember who it was anyway. Someone on Twitter tweeted like worst performance, Newcastle's worst ever performance against Chelsea, and I was thinking it's not even close. Not even close to being the worst performance ever. I mean, me and you, Dad, we went to Wigan away in a League Cup match.
I was just thinking about that game.
My friend Alan, who supports Villa, and I don't know what he thought. He must have thought he'd done something wrong, because it was the most dreadful game of football I have ever witnessed in my life. And Albert Luque was running around. I say running. It was like watching him in slow motion. It was horrific.
I mean, you could name some brilliant 11s that we've had. Albert Luque.
Albert Luque up front, struggling to do anything against Wigan.
Yeah,
crazy. That was for me. That was the worst game of football I've ever watched in my life.
Dreadful, wasn't it? Yeah.
Evening, Mark. Mark makes a point, and a couple of other people I've seen have noticed. I hope these leaks to the media don't continue in January. Can't cope with this every transfer window. And I know that this is the whole thing, going back to the Emery thing, isn't it? You know, that there was something was leaked on was it Tuesday that it all came out that he was going to definitely sign. And then obviously on Wednesday, it had all been knocked on the head. And it looks like the club... Yeah, we're a bit surprised, really, and taken aback. But really, there was obviously briefings to the press that probably shouldn't have happened.
It's Penfold.
I mean, people are saying that. What do you reckon? What do you think to that? Do you think it is? Do you think it is him? And do you think that when he goes, because he will be going, that all these leaks will stop?
I doubt it very much. I mean, people have contacts with the press. I mean, George Colkin, who I really respect, and I'd always go to him for kind of, the news. That's one of the reasons to go on Twitter, is to sort of see what they're doing. And Chris Woff's pretty good as well. But you look and you sort of think, so they're getting their stories from somewhere. I mean, Colkin today knew that over the weekend they'd interviewed both Unai Emery and Eddie Howe, and that Howe's interview really impressed. Now, someone had to be in the room for that. So you kind of wondering. So I think it's part of the modern world. I don't know if it was kind of a card someone tried to play to sort of push it over the line. It was a bit odd that it was on the night he had a Champions League game when it was all leaked. So it's not helpful, Yeah. It's all the endless speculation, isn't it? That's the thing. That's what kind of generates the sort of the cesspit of anger that is Twitter. It's a good place to go for your news. But then it's everyone's opinion. Says three blokes talking about football.
Yeah, giving our opinions.
The irony's not lost here.
As if it holds any more weight.
We're all very reasonable, opinions. Obviously.
This made me laugh. Just going back to the playing styles I mentioned about, the football's not being great, even under Rafa, if we're honest. It wasn't that thrilling. But I don't blame Rafa for the style. Not like Rondon and Joselu could Rabona people off their seats. Great phrase. Well, and it's true. We just didn't have the players. And Rafa played the way he played because he didn't have the attacking players. And we know that. And things were starting to change just as he left. Like, he had Almiron, we were starting to open up a bit.
He has signed Rondon for Everton.
Yeah.
Not Joselu, though.
Yeah.
Joselu and Luque. That would have been a pairing.
God. Oh my goodness. Who can come up with the worst strike partnership in recent
Big Jow would be in there, wouldn't he? as well. Joe Linton in there.
Joe Linton,
yeah.
Evening Peter, also feels like a safety net, this appointment, in case we get relegated, as he has knowledge of the Championship.
Good point.
Yeah,
possible.
Mm-hmm. I think that is a good point. Because let's be honest, the only thing that matters this season is trying to survive. That's it. There's only one goal this season, and that is trying to survive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And hopefully Howe can do that. He's got a 2.5-year contract, I believe. So obviously they're not just going to give him half a season. He wouldn't come for that. So clearly they've given him 2 years. But obviously that you would think if we do go down, he would probably stick around and try and get us back out of the Championship. But hopefully it won't come to that.
I think that's right. I think it's given us a chance now of
11 wins,
avoiding relegation. I mean, we've got a big job. I mean, let's not be pull any wool over anybody's eyes here. We have got a huge task, to stay up, and even with Eddie Howe, it's going to be hard because we've got to get to January first of all. We can get, like we said last week, a reasonable amount of points on the board to keep us in touch, and then build on that in January and take us forward. It's by no means impossible, but it's not going to be easy. We're playing these established and well-run football clubs, and Brighton are one of them now, aren't they? They're a good team. So it's given us a chance, I think, and I believe now there will be a definite lift amongst the players because a new manager does that, doesn't he? He comes in, and we've said before, it's a fresh face, it's fresh ideas, and hopefully we'll actually see a team. Not like Jones did last week, playing the same team 2 weeks running when it didn't make any sense at all. Why people like Fernandes and Shaw weren't anywhere near that side.
Yeah. Just talking about the next game, I read that Keith Downey on Twitter was saying the deal is agreed in principle, 2.5-year contract. At this stage, it's unlikely he'll be in the dugout at Brighton, but Newcastle would welcome his input and involvement. So I think he'll be on the training ground with them tomorrow or wherever they need to be. He'll certainly be with the players and the squad, I think. And that can't be...
Don't play Fraser.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Fraser's even in the squad because obviously there's history there, isn't it? Apparently Fraser was a bit of a refuser, wouldn't play.
No.
Well, I think Almiron should be in the team anyway ahead of Fraser, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. But also, Jones is playing Fraser not as a winger. He's playing him inside in a midfield.
Very narrow midfield, isn't it?
In a narrow midfield, just doesn't make sense.
No.
But Alan says, I don't think you will ever get 100% agreement from the fans. That is true, especially Newcastle fans. There's always division there in some ways. But if it's Eddie Howe, let's all be united and get behind him and the owners. And I think, I've been doing these live streams for 3 or 4 weeks now, and the topic's been who's the manager going to be? Who's the manager going to be? And it's actually quite nice just to be able to talk about something different. And we've got Eddie Howe. And you can think what you like about him, really. That's who we've got. And you can't really do anything else other than get behind him at this moment in time. The club needs our support. The players need our support. Hopefully, Howe will reinvigorate the squad, play players in position, start picking up some wins, and then obviously the mood will lift. And that's obviously what we hope for. But time will tell.
Yeah, we said this last week, didn't we? I mean, imagine if just someone turned up and made them train every day. And just organise them a little bit. One of the things I sort of notice about Eddie Howe if you look on Twitter and stuff like that, there's loads of videos of him coaching. They've done sort of behind the scenes stuff with him. Bournemouth used to do things like that where they would video him, on a summer camp or something, showing how tactics. There was a really funny one that someone put on Twitter tonight of him with a tactics board, kind of moving pieces about and someone saying, "Can you imagine Steve Bruce doing this?" And you just
someone put, "I'd pay good money to see Steve Bruce." I'd love to see Steve Bruce doing that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's a mad concept, isn't it? A coach actually being on a football pitch or actually coaching. It just seems, strange. I mean, they should be doing it. I just think that's their job. Coaching is about being there, isn't it? And developing. And, you know, Rafa, we talked about this last week about having that defensive line and just working them, you know, time after time after time. And often you hear commentators on the TV talk about sides and they say they can tell they've worked on that discipline of that defence, that they don't, you know, step out and whatever. And there was no sign of that under Bruce. We just were a shambolic mess most of the time. And he was just giving the ball to Sam Maximum, and that was it.
That's it, Dad. And really, we saw over time the defence get worse and worse and worse and worse. And initially when he came in, they were still drilled from the Rafa stuff. And then they got progressively worse over time. And actually, you know, we know that a lot of the players aren't the best players in the world. We know that, but there's more ability in this squad than we have seen, certainly this season.
Yeah,
I agree. Totally.
So the question is, Eddie Howe not going to be in the dugout according to Downey from Sky Sports, but maybe having an influence on the match day squad. I know it's very limited time before Saturday. I appreciate that, but can Newcastle United beat Brighton? Can we do it? I'll give you a little bit of hope, right? Because Brighton haven't won in their last 5 Premier League matches, surprisingly, because they're getting a lot of positive press, and you know they're playing some nice stuff and whatnot. They've scored 11 goals, which is as many as we have. They've only conceded 11 goals, though, to be fair, so that's a lot less than we have. They're playing nice stuff. They're well coached. They're well drilled, but they haven't actually won a match in the last 5 Premier League matches. So they're not actually a team that you'd say are in outstanding form. They've obviously had a good start to the season. I think they won 4 of the first 5 or something. So can with Howe coming in and a bit of maybe that will bring confidence. Can we get the result that we all crave?
Well, the thing is, you see, if we were their fans, we'd be sitting looking at this game thinking, oh, heck, look, they're just getting a new manager. They're going to come down here. We're not playing very well. We're not getting results. Newcastle are going to beat us. But on the other side, we're looking at it thinking, oh, heck, they've just drawn 2-2 at Liverpool. They're being 2-0 there.
They should have won by all accounts.
And they're due a win. So can we win?
They were unlucky against Liverpool as well, by all accounts.
So, can we win? Yes, of course we can. Will we win? I'll be surprised. I'll be delighted if we do. But I still think if we can get a point out of that game, I think it'll be a good result.
Yeah, a point would be marvelous.
I look at that thing you put up and go, oh well, they're due a win then.
Yeah, that's the standard Newcastle supporter response, isn't it?
We'll show up and give them 3 points then.
This is what Connor's saying. Look, you've jinxed us now. Newcastle roll into town. They're the team you want to play. And how many times have we seen that where we just hand if Harry Kane hadn't scored a Premier League goal, plays us, scores. It's happened so many times in the past, hasn't it? So
it does happen, and I think other fans claim it happens then, because I think it probably does. You know, when you're down and you look, it's one of those things, isn't it? But I think
bad teams.
Yeah, I tell what you're saying. There's always something we can do, but I look at it and think, well, they were unlucky against Liverpool. They really were unlucky against Liverpool, and they really played well. So if they hit that kind of form coming into this game, I would worry about defensively where we might go. Because Howe's not a magician as far as I'm aware, and so regardless of who's in the dugout, I just think it's hard. We've got a terrible record at Brighton. We don't travel well anyway.
Certainly since we've been promoted, Since
the
Army's superb goal.
Yeah.
The Army's superb goal, and then that brilliant winner from Perez, wasn't it?
It was. Perez.
That was just amazing.
Yeah. So that was great. Turn that game around. It's fab.
Yeah.
Back in the Championship. Ooh, I can't believe that's gone that's 5 years ago now, isn't it?
5 years ago, yeah.
But have we beaten them in the Premier League?
At Brighton?
Yeah.
Good question. Maybe someone can answer that. I'm not sure. I know we don't have a great record. I've got a feeling we beat them once.
Maybe once. We got promoted, didn't we, with them, and then didn't win. They would have a good record for whatever reason. It's one of those teams.
Yeah.
I think it'll be 2-1.
What, either way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard.
Just imagine the buzz that's going to be around if we win. Like, it'd be so good. Like, it'd be such a good feeling if we can win a game, and then with some nice home games to come. Like nice. Norwich, Brentford, Burnley. Like, come on. I'm getting carried away.
We always had history with Brighton. I mean, those of us old enough can remember the 80s cup ties and the infamous Trelford Mills. And I mean, it just seemed to carry on whenever we played Brighton. It was just we apart from then the final game of the season, we got promoted when Peter Beardsley chipped Joe Corrigan. That was ancient history, lads, but it was good memories.
Very good. I saw this. The players trained from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. today. Not sure if we should be worried. 1 hour training. I think, to be fair, I did see that, but I don't know how you answer that really. But I think not everything's high intensity training, is it? That's the thing. An hour.
They don't train 8 hours a day. It's not a regular job.
No.
How do people know that?
Well, I think there was I think Adam Pearson, who's a YouTuber, a Newcastle YouTuber, he was at the training ground and he was there when they all arrived, like 2:15, and then said that they'd all left at 3:15. So I don't know what was going on there, but I mean, I don't know what the schedule is for footballers, but I'm sure it'll get better going forward. We'll see. Peter reckons that Brighton might be too early for Howe to have any impact, but going forward's obviously going to be interesting. And this is it. Like, we want to see more than 25% possession. Give me the heady heights of 40% possession. That'd be a dream. Just seeing a bit more of the ball.
But you might feel like you're in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or we might actually dominate a foot match sometime. That would be quite nice.
Steady on, Dad. Steady.
Yeah. The long season ahead. Long season ahead. Robert Lee. Always good to have Robert Lee here.
Bobby Lee.
The good appointment. Last year, they hadn't won in their last 9 matches last year, and look what happened. Last year, it was one of the worst games I've ever seen. No, as we've ever beaten in the we've never beaten them away in the Premier League. That's interesting. So we haven't beaten them away. Fair enough. I mean, let's be honest, Alan. We're not often involved in classic matches these days, are we? So we've seen quite a few terrible football matches recently. Connor reckons never too early to have an impact on a Newcastle squad. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, I think, to see. You just hope we get the new manager bounce. That's the thing, isn't it? You just really hope that there's just some sort of reaction immediately. I'm not sure we'll get it. I've become a bit concerned over the last couple of weeks with how little reaction we've actually seen. Apart from the first quarter of an hour against Tottenham, it's not been great, has it? And I don't know. Is it because Jones was already there and it didn't feel like anything new? And obviously, do you know what I mean? Like, can we get a bit of a boost from a new manager? I mean, obviously, we hope we can. We need it to happen.
I think it is something to do with the fact that Jones was there. And I think what's been disappointing was just that it just seemed to be an extension of Steve Bruce in a way. I mean, we have been better in the games against Crystal Palace and to an extent against Chelsea. I mean, we were better organised in the sense that we defended. Because, let's face it, if we'd conceded in the first half, goodness knows what the score would have been. But I do think we'll get an impact from Howe. Might not be for Saturday's game, but certainly from the Brentford game and those crucial games after the international window. I think those are the games where we've got to be picking up the points like we talked about last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did every team get a new manager bounce? You sort of hope you would.
Doesn't always happen. I think West Brom didn't when Big Sam came in, Big Fat Sam.
Yeah.
He just carried on being terrible, which was funny. but it doesn't always happen.
Which it burst the bubble on him being the Superman rescuer that everyone.
I mean, I don't mind West Brom, but
like
actually seeing him get relegated was nice.
It was funny.
I mean, statistically, it was about to happen at some point, wasn't it? Because you know what I mean? Like taking over clubs in the bottom three halfway through every season for a couple of million quid or whatever. It's like, I mean, it's good money, I'm guessing.
It's not bad work.
Yeah.
I guess, sort of how Bruce has made his money as well, wasn't it? Just being terrible.
It's been around the bottom half of the Premier League.
Yeah, I said this, I think, the other day in a video that I did. It might have been the video I did about Emery, actually, when I thought he was coming. But basically, there's going to be a lot of tape watching about finding out about the squad. You'd like to think Howe might have already done a bit of that. Certainly, if he's as prepped. I mean, one of the leaks was about how prepped he was for his interview and the presentation he gave. So you'd think if he was really prepped for this interview that he had, part of that would have involved watching tape of the squad and seeing exactly what he's got in that squad. I mean, what do we want to see? What do we want to see in terms of like team lineup and selection? Like, let me know in the comments as well. Like, what would you like to see? Who would you like to see in the team?
I'd like to see Dubravka back in goal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a class above.
And I like Fernandes and Shaw to be in that team as well.
Yeah. Now, Share's an interesting one because, I mean, we've discussed it. I feel like I've been banging on about this for about a month now. But, like, we don't have a defensive midfielder. We don't have a holding player.
No.
Could Share be that player? Could he be the one who's not in central defence, but just in front of the defence?
He's got the ball skills to do it. I think we tried it, didn't we, once?
I was going to say, I think we did try that, didn't we? It wasn't successful at it. Yeah.
It was. I think it was a game in which we got mullered. You've got to keep. I think with someone like Shaw, you've got to keep an eye on him discipline-wise because he tends to sort of like he runs forward. He likes to drift and he's a good passer of the ball. As we know, as I said last week, I mean, he can score absolute belters as well. I mean, like that, that goal he got last season. Who was that against? We lash it in the top corner.
Oh, was it Burnley, wasn't it? Was it the season before?
That's an amazing finish.
Yeah.
But he's a regular starter. They said on the, Gary said there, look, he does well for his country. He plays for Switzerland, and they're not okay. They're not a European superpower, but they're not bad.
They're pretty decent, actually.
He's a good footballer. No doubt. He's certainly better than Lascelles, isn't he? I mean,
I would. Bruce tried playing Shaw. Yes, I would go with. I mean, he might cover a gap until January. I think I would play him at centre half personally, probably with Fernandes. I would try and play fullbacks, and I would have an extra midfielder in. 4-5-1. Yeah. I think was.
Do you think we can get more out of Hayden again? Because his form's not been amazing.
But no one's form's been amazing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. The whole.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, is it because they're just lacking confidence and being bruised, or is it because they're just not good enough? Like,
well, I think it's the first one. It's because they're being bruised, and I think if you look back to Hayden, he was an indispensable member of Rafa's team. He was just like he'd suddenly turned into this really good, effective Premier League player. I mean, he's never going to be an international or whatever, but he was there, wasn't he? But I just think we go into games with Bruce, and there's been no plan, there's been no tactics discernible from what we watched. So the players must be confused as hell, as to what they should be doing. I think if we get better organised and your role in the team and you play people in the positions they should play in and not just to fill the hole, then I think, Hayden could recapture some of that form. I just saw one of the comments that they went across there about Willock. Now, I'm not sure Willock's 100% fit because he's not displaying. He didn't look fit to me last week, and of course he's getting judged on playing when he's not fit in a team which is suffering a lack of confidence. And I don't think that's good for him or the side.
Yeah,
I'm not sure Willock should play.
I think I can't wait to see what Willock can do under a decent manager. So hopefully we haven't signed a dud, and he is actually the player we thought he was.
Well, do you think he's a box-to-box kind of midfielder?
I think he can be.
Yeah, I would put him in that kind of role. I think he could get up and down the pitch because he's quite quick.
He must have something about him. He scored in 8 consecutive Premier League games. I mean, that's astonishing at any of them. So I think the lad's got ability.
He was a record for a debut.
Like even Shearer didn't do that.
I mean, it's just so he's obviously got something, but he was played in that central midfield and he was box to box, wasn't he? And I remember even we had a discussion: is this the new Robert Lee? Because Robert Lee was like that, wasn't he? He was like an engine on him, like can get up and down the pitch and score.
Yeah.
I'm not comparing him in the sense that he's as good as Robert Lee. Clearly, at this time, he's got a lot of seasons to go to get to that level. But I think he's got ability, and I think maybe a good coach will bring that out of him.
Well, I prefer him to. I think he's a better player than Almiron. Although they're slightly different, I get. But in terms of forward play, because like last season, he can be clinical and he can score goals, whereas Almiron's never done that in the 2 and a bit years we've had him.
Yeah, Almiron's end product is we need more from him.
Maybe that can be coached.
But again, with better coaching and a better system, maybe Almiron can flourish. And because he's very popular, isn't he, with the fans?
Yeah.
I'd love to see him succeed.
The sad thing was, though, wasn't it, that just when Rafa was starting to get the best out of him, with Rondon and Perez and Almiron was starting to score a few goals and make things happen. Rafa left. And that was such a pity. I think his work rate and his commitment up and down the pitch is tremendous, Almiron. But his final product, he does need to do better. There's no doubt.
Yeah. But let's be honest as well. He's not had the surrounding cast hasn't been great. That's
no.
And that is, there's only so much a player can do. I mean, I do think, despite that, I do think he should have scored more, and I do think he probably should have assisted more.
Yeah.
But you can't fault his work rate, and just hopefully with a better lineup and a better, just more organised system, we get more from him.
I'm just looking at that comment that's on the screen there, Ian. Jones confirmed last week Willock has been playing with injections. That was something Rafa would never have allowed.
Yeah.
Rafa protected his players. He never played injured players. He once coming back from international duty across the other side of the world, even though we possibly needed those players in the team on the Saturday, he didn't do it.
Rafa was always thinking about the games that were coming up.
That's right. Bad managers make these decisions to play injured players.
Yeah.
Pardew did it. McLaren did it. You can go back in the rounds of history and you can see that that's what they do. They risk a player, and what happens is they lose them then for a much longer time.
Well, these are the guys who, when they played, the physio was just a man with a bucket and a sponge.
Yeah,
He'd be like, "Come on, lad, on your feet."
Get on with it.
Bit of magic spray.
Not like highly tuned athletes today. So what? Yeah, Geordie's saying think Willock is a Wijnaldum sort of player, and then we've got this comment: Wijnaldum not playing for Paris Saint-Germain. Maybe a cheeky 6-month loan in January for him. Wouldn't be a bad shout. Yeah.
Well, do you know what I think? Sort of stuff like that. Maybe not a PSG player, but like a couple of top level players on a loan in January is more realistic than probably grabbing a Champions League manager.
Yeah,
to come in, and that kind of nearly happened. Yeah. So I actually think something like I think Jesse Lingard, that someone like that. Because he went on loan to West Ham last season and did really well. At the same time, Willock was doing really well for us. So I think there's players like that that could just ignite a team. Couple of players.
Also, if those sort of players come in from these better players from these bigger clubs, then they might be playing for something a bit more than just the 6-month contract, because we've got all this potential ahead of us. But actually, they might think, "Oh, right, I want a part of this." So I think there's a lot to be said for the loan system in January. I agree.
I think we'll see some. I think we will see quite a bit of loan loan movement because
Yeah.
I think until Premier League, I was having this conversation with someone yesterday. Like you can't plan to build the club up like they want to until you know what division you're in next season. So you can't plan for next season yet, really, until you know if you're going to be playing the Premier League or the.
They needed a run up. They needed a pre-season like everyone else, and it's the same. So actually, the aim this season is Boris and players stay up, and then reset. That's exactly it.
Yeah. A few people on about Van der Beek at Man United, obviously not playing. Geordie's saying the same. Again, you've only got to look at the fact that he's better than what we have. So you probably would take him. At the end of the day, I always think, does this player improve our squad? Yes. Right.
That's it. That was always the Kevin Keegan mentality.
That's the only question that needs answering.
Yeah. Is this player better than the player I'm putting in, replacing you with? That's all it was.
Except for Mike Hooper.
Mike Hooper was a bit of a mistake. Keegan, do you know what? Keegan never got goalkeepers right.
No, he didn't.
He didn't like Pav, which was wrong in my opinion. You know my opinions on Pav. Absolute legend. But he never trusted Pav. And he buggered up all the replacement keepers, really. I mean, we had Mike Hooper, for goodness sake.
He didn't play much, though. To be fair,
he didn't.
There was one season where he did. There was one season where he played about a third of the games. You know, don't get me started. Yeah, Xhaka was all right.
Yeah, Aaron said 8-year-old me loved his. I love Xhaka.
I love Xhaka.
Class.
Yeah,
absolutely
Xhaka
class.
well.
And of course, Xhaka. Xhaka's the one you think of with that beautiful Newcastle goalie shirt with the time bridge and the sunset, wasn't it? That was his. I might
have to try and get one of those.
It's just superb. I've got the little pin badge of it actually.
Yeah, you sent me one.
Yeah. Oh, did I?
You did,
yeah. Class. Yeah. John Burridge. There's a blast from the past.
We did play John Burridge once, didn't we?
I think John Burridge was the first goalkeeper I saw play for Newcastle.
Yeah, probably was.
Didn't he go to bed with his goalie gloves on?
That was always the rumour, the urban myth, wasn't it?
I think that's true. Yeah.
John Burridge was the same age as Kevin Keegan, and he played a game when Keegan was manager.
Mm-hmm.
We had to bring him in at
That's right, he did.
He did in one game.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy Wright, we had for a bit. I like Tommy Wright. He was good.
Tommy Wright, yeah. Well, he did a couple of spells, didn't he? He played against the Mackhams once, didn't he? Was it under Robson? Was it? Or
yeah, no, but Pat came back into the game as well, didn't he? When we were short. But yeah, Tommy Wright did play a game.
Tommy Wright played the night that Hollett dropped Shearer and Ferguson. Was it that game?
I'm not sure.
I've got a feeling it was because I remember it. This is random. I remember him playing in the blue goalkeeper shirt.
Right. He definitely came back and played a game. You're right.
I remember him warming up at the Gallagher. We were sitting in the Gallagher. I remember him sitting. I remember thinking, "Oh, it's Tommy Wright again," you know. Anyway, I'm going to look that up now.
Yeah, have a look.
Yeah, do.
Anyway, there we go. Bit of a goalkeeper chat. Of course, my brother there, Andrew, is a goalkeeper. Don't know why, but he was quite good at it. To be fair, he were pretty decent.
Thank you. Played for the county.
You did.
It's because I'm 4 inches taller than all of you. Men.
Morgul Blade, as a 15-year-old, I chased Hooper up an escalator in the metro to tell him he was bad. I bet he really appreciated that.
The stuff.
That's class.
Did you catch him?
Probably.
I bet he probably couldn't get past him on the escalator.
Mobile, he was not. That is fantastic.
Speaking of keepers' saves, the Arsenal keeper did make a good save, didn't he, at the weekend?
Yeah.
If you've not
actually seen it, I heard about it, but I've never actually watched it.
It's a good save, but I mean, someone was commenting like The Athletic wrote a 2,000 piece breakdown of the save. It's like this is a bit over the top. Like we don't need that level of detail about a save. Like it was a good save, but
was it as good as Gordon Banks in 1970? That's always the yardstick.
That was amazing.
Oh, yeah, that's a save.
Yeah.
Tommy Wright came back in the 99-2000 season when Harper and Given were injured.
Yeah.
And he played.
99-2000, yeah.
It was against Chelsea, though.
I'm sure he played against
Chelsea.
Only one game?
Yeah.
I was right, though. It was the right era. Like,
that was his bio. I'm going to go on there.
Someone's mentioning Stones from Man City. I would take him all day long, of course.
Yeah,
I don't know whether we'll be able to attract a player like that.
No chance. I saw him play the other week for Man City against West Ham. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've got to be realistic. Stones might be someone who comes if we stay up and push on, but I think we've got to be realistic about who we could actually get in at the moment. The fact of the matter is, like I say, if you ask yourself the question, does this player improve the team? The answer is yes, you get him in. And we just have to accept that it's going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be, it's going to take time. And obviously, all we have to do is make sure that we stay up this season. That's all we need to do.
He played 3 games, apparently.
Did it? I'm sure.
Really?
I'm just trying to get on the old NUFC archives here.
I've just spilt my drink here, so I'm just mopping it up. It's not even beer, It's Pepsi.
So was that the 99-2000 season? Did you say? Yeah.
I'm just trying to find. Hang on a second.
Go back. Stones isn't playing in regularly. That's the thing. He has played the odd game, but he isn't playing regularly. I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me know. Let's just go back to the game against Brighton. Let me know in the comments what your score prediction is. I suspect people might be a little bit more confident than they were maybe even an hour ago, 2 hours ago, whatever.
Maybe.
Can Newcastle beat Brighton? Let me know what you think the score's going to be. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm going to change my prediction. I predicted 1-1, and I'd take that. I'd take that now. If someone offered me 1-1, I'd absolutely take that. I think a point away would be great with those home games that we've got coming and a new manager. I think that would be all right. What do you reckon?
My head says, I want to say a draw because I want to be confident and upbeat, but I think it's going to be 2-1, probably to Brighton.
Yeah.
But I would take a last-minute winner.
I think a draw will be good, but I'll go against you. And I'll say 2-1 to us.
Go on then.
Nice.
Can I just point out that I said Chelsea would win 3-0. Can I just point that out? That hasn't been mentioned.
What's that?
I got the Chelsea score correct.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I was too ambitious. I thought we'd score.
Yeah.
You got 3-1,
Far too ambitious. Lots of people looking like. I don't know if Paul's saying 2-1 to Brighton. Some people saying 2-0 to Brighton, 2-0 to Brighton, score draw, 2-1 to us. Mark's confident. I like that. Stones is unhappy. Yeah, but what I'm saying, Alan, is about Stones. There's other clubs, isn't there? He's going to want to play European football.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's not going to come to us, even if he is available at this stage. I don't think. You might throw a load of money at him. He might come for that, but I suspect players of that caliber, they're ultimately going to want to still play in Europe, and I think we're not going to have that. We're not going to have the ability to buy players like that for a while.
I think some of the players we'll get will either be from abroad, or they'll be from teams in the mid-range in the Premier League on loan. That's how I think it'll work out. But they'll be better than what we've got. I think. Really, it'll not be hard to improve some of the players in our squad, will it? Because we should have been improving this for the last 5 or 6 years, and we haven't, and that's why we're in the mess we're in now.
Yeah. Can I just say to you, John Carelsa?
John Carelsa.
Oh. Did he play for the Mackhams?
He was the third choice keeper in that season. Do you remember him?
Did he play for? Is that? Oh no, who was the one that played for the Mackhams and played for us as well?
The French fella.
Oh, here. Goodness me.
You want to remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Wasn't Perez as well, was it?
I think it was a Perez, wasn't it? Yeah. I think you might be right, Ian.
I don't know. Lots of other scores coming in. So Aaron's thinking we win 2-1. Interesting. 4-3-3 in his last game. I'd like to see a formation change. There's no point sticking with what he's done for the last 2 games, in my opinion. It hasn't worked. We need to be more. We don't want to be too gung ho, but we want to be in the game more. We want to be a bit more attacking minded, and it would be nice to just see it a bit more going forward. Yeah, absolutely. Losing 2-1. Again, the fitness is an issue. That's a really good point. We've still got to accept that squad is where it is, and the fitness is an issue, and that's going to be an issue for at least another few weeks, isn't it? Until they have some proper. I mean, to be fair, that hopefully has already started in the last 2 weeks under Jones. At least he's having them training a bit more, so hopefully the fitness will come soon enough. There was a question up here that I thought we'd just quickly talk about. So just talking about the players we think we need. So obviously a centre-back, a full-back, proper winger. What do you guys think? I'd agree with the full-backs and centre-backs, absolutely. I think we're okay at wingers. That's not an area of massive concern for me. I think we need another striker, and I'd like to see another central midfielder, like a holding midfielder. Yeah,
I agree. And central midfielder to me, and also another forward to cover for Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
So if we could get somebody like Jesse Lingard to come in as well, that on loan, that type of that would be good.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
You need someone to score some goals. That is key. But I'd take a strong centre half too.
Is anyone getting concerned about St. Maximin since Bruce has gone? Because there's a bit, some people saying that he hasn't looked interested since Bruce has gone. Do you think that's a factor? Obviously, he was the only player that publicly came out and said anything positive about Bruce when he left.
Well, there's something going on there between him and Jones, because I thought that the other day. But the thing with St. Maximin, you're going to get this with these talented players, the ones they're the key player. They can't do it every game, and maybe it's just he is suffering a bit from just what's the team doing. I think he'll be fine. I think the new manager coming in will lift him. So I'm not unduly worried.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at it and go, who are the good players in this team? And ASM has definitely shown he's got the ability to take on players and to beat them and to stick. He's got a good assist rate and all that sort of stuff. So anyone's going to look at that and go, "Well, I'm going to play him." Out of all the players I've got, I'm going to play him. So I'm not too worried. I think there's he's quite young, and he's. But I like.
He's still finding his feet, isn't he? Let's be honest, and he hasn't been playing in the best team. I don't think. I might be wrong on this, but I don't think he'll ever be a top player. But I think he's definitely going to be. He can definitely be one of those players who is, one of the best of the rest, if you like. I think he's got that kind of potential. That's his ceiling is quite high, but it's not like world class high, if you see what I mean.
No. Can I bring us back to the important issue that we were talking about earlier? Ian, you were 100% right. So Tommy Wright played in the Sunderland game.
Told you.
Yeah, the night that Shearer and Ferguson were on the bench and Hullet left.
Oh, get in.
Tommy
I remember.
Wright played in goal.
I have some vision.
That's amazing memory.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I just remember Kevin Phillips scoring, and that was annoying.
Yeah.
And Niall Quinn scored as well, didn't he?
Niall Quinn,
yeah. And
Quinn scored with a header from the edge of the box. If I remember.
He lobbed the keeper with a header.
Right.
And obviously that was the night when it absolutely peed it down. And anyone who was sat in the Leazers or Milburn stand was soaked to the bone.
There was a bit of a history though, wasn't there? So 92-93, when we played the Mackems at home, we were in the family paddock. Do you remember?
That's right.
In the Milburn, and it was. I mean, they had machines pumping water off the pitch. I mean, any other game it would have been cancelled.
Yeah, was anyone else at that game when
was that Scott Sellers free kick?
Scott Sellers free kick, yeah.
Scott Sellers, come on. Yeah, so Tommy Wright, this is obviously what we're talking about tonight, clearly. Tommy Wright played 3 games. So he played against the Mackhams. His final game was away at Chelsea, which we lost. And I think did he play in a 5-1 defeat against Man United? So
right. So it was a good run.
Yeah.
Do you know who was
time though, was it?
You know who was our caretaker manager when we played Man United?
It was Clark, wasn't it?
It was Clark, yeah.
Was it? I've never got that. I didn't know that. Lee Clark has managed us.
No, Steve Clark.
Steve Clark.
Oh, yeah, of course, because he was Holland's assistant.
Yeah.
Scottish Clark.
Yeah.
Holland's manager.
Yeah. And then we played CSKA Sofia.
Yeah.
In the UEFA Cup.
Yeah.
Was
that the home game?
Was
the Sofia game the home game?
No, it was away.
All right, because I've got a match ticket for the home game.
Harper was back in goal. We won that 2-0. The away one. And then we won 8-0 at home against Sheffield Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's this question about
going back to Matt, I've had this up on the screen for a while. So Matt says, because we've got a really good coach rather than a big name manager, do you think the director of football is all the more important?
Well, I think the director of football is going to be important anyway, whether it's big name or lesser big name. I just think it's important that we have someone I think it goes back to what we talked about, the structure of the club, didn't we? And the fact that there's nobody in place. So it's vital that we fill some of these roles. So I think the director of football is going to be absolutely vital to the success of the club moving forward. All our recruitment's been done by Lee Charnley, hasn't it, in the last 5 years? It's snail's pace. We need somebody who's, tuned in and working at a faster pace and with get us better players. And let's face it, we're going to have more money and more buying power, aren't we? And come January, it's not going to be quite as drastic. Yes, I think it's important.
But in all seriousness, though, do we actually know what a director of football does? I don't mean to be sort of contrary. It's not something we've ever really had.
I think we tried it, didn't we? About 10 years ago, there was it
didn't work.
Dennis Wise was the director of football.
Dennis Wise, exactly.
But I think, look, I think a director of football, if it's done properly, that's how football works these days. All the big clubs have a director of football. Clearly, that's the model.
Do all the Premier League clubs have them, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, fine. I don't know. I'm kind of.
Yeah, if you've ever watched,
the guy from Spurs was in the news this week. Yeah. But clearly, he made a massive balls up by appointing Nuno, and then had to sort of.
Yeah, but the director of football really they work a lot. I remember, if you ever watch the All or Nothing documentary about Man City, you can see the relationship between Pep and his director of football and how important it is, because obviously they have to be singing from the same hymn sheet, and the director of football has to know the style of play as well as the manager, and then recruit appropriately. So you've got to have that. You've got to have those people working in tandem. I think what Mark's saying is, Howe is going to be good on the training field, picking the team, but his area of expertise isn't recruitment. Yeah. So the director of football, I think Mark, yes, is the answer, I would say. Because the director of football is the guy who's going to be, coordinating the scouts and finding players and running the club and getting the right players in for the head coach, so that we have the right players in the right positions.
It's about more than the first team as well, isn't it? Obviously, it's about building the academy,
of course,
and all the other stuff. Which I totally get. I'm just being contrary for the sake of
job.
Yeah, it's not something I just don't think it's sort of ground in the English game, is it?
No, I think the days of a Jim Smith, going down the Hull on a wet night and watching Hull play somebody, so he's scouting the players. That type of situation doesn't happen now, does it? That, as you said, Ian, they have scouts, but they're reporting back to the director of football, but they have an idea of what type of players they want to recruit. And where there becomes conflict between these top name managers and the director of football is where they disagree about the standard of footballer that they're being recommended to buy.
And it's the manager who loses out in that situation.
And it's the manager who loses out.
Usually. When a director of football is good at his job, the manager is expendable. That's basically it. They're more important in a sense. Thomas asks an interesting question and worth discussing. How long and under what circumstance do you reckon we can finally kick Charnley out of the building? And we all know, obviously, Charnley's still there. It's because the club is a shell of a club, and Ashley's left us with nothing behind the scenes. So Charnley's obviously handing over to the new people and all that kind of stuff. But let's be honest, hopefully soon is the answer, I would say.
I think it'll be the end of the season. I think
it'll be as long as that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's because we are a shell of a club, unless they appoint all these people in the next.
There is no one else.
There is no one else running that club.
Yeah, but don't you think they must be doing recruitment even now though for those roles? They must be putting that structure in place.
Of course,
you would think so. But the other thing I came across from them, and maybe they're being a bit naive, that they've been quite sort of fair and honourable with the people that have been at the club. Even to see Brucey's 1,000th match, for goodness sake. But I think Charnley might be there at the end of the season, and then if we survive, which hopefully we will, then we'll see the real rebuild in the summer next year. And I think that's where we'll kick on.
We'll see a rebuild either way, regardless of whether we're relegated, won't we? And I think no one has a clue who will start the first game next season for Newcastle United. No one has a clue what 11 will be picked because it's going to be so different.
That comment from Paul there, about Scott Sellers' goal, that's one of the pictures I tweeted you the other day, was Scott Sellers' goal against Sunderland in that game in the rain.
Yes, yeah. Remember it well. Fantastic memory. Callum, we'll just we'll sign off in the next few minutes. Callum, does Amanda Staveley have a long-term position at the club? I believe she does, because I believe her company, as part of the deal of getting the takeover through, they were awarded the contract to run the club on a day-to-day basis. So she has a contract to run the club probably 2 or 3 years, I'd imagine, and then it'll be reviewed. And obviously, if she's deemed to be doing a good job by the Saudi PIF, she'll continue. If not, there'll be new people come in. The only way Charlie will leave is in danger mask. Love it. Right. Thank you for that, Andrew. That's funny. Good. We will leave it there, I think. So, obviously, Brighton at the weekend. Fingers crossed we can get a result. I'm feeling more confident than I was 2 hours ago. And yeah, tomorrow's Friday, so just a very, very quick plug for my newsletter, which is emailed to you directly to your inbox. If you just look in the link below, you can just sign up to it, completely free. And yeah, I just write. It's my 4th one, so I just do it every week, and yeah, it'd be great.
It's very good. Get just subscribe.
Well. No bias there.
I do read it. So.
No, it's thank you. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, thank you for everyone who's joined us as well tonight. We've had quite a lot of people joining us tonight, so we do appreciate that. And maybe we'll be back soon to do another one of these because I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been good fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Okay.